Record Rack Deer and Elk Feeds presents Deer and Wildlife Stories. The whitetail deer is America's favorite big game animal, and whitetail deer farming is the fastest growing segment in the agriculture industry. Our program's mission is to dive into the world of deer farming and inform you of how deer farmers all over the country are now using rapidly developing science-based research on their captive deer herds to solve the chronic wasting disease issue through selective breeding. Not only is the new science working, but it's obvious that captive deer breeding is the only way to help save America's deer herd from CWD, which will help improve overall herd health and at the same time produce more quality trophy-sized animals for the general public. Join me as we discover how whitetail genetics, deer auctions, animal husbandry, and so much more drive the modern-day deer farming industry. My name is Keith Warren, and this is Deer and Wildlife Stories. So howdy everybody, right now I am in Pennsylvania. That's where the entire program is going to be shot from today. My name is Keith Warren, and this program is going to be a little bit different than any other program you've seen us run. And the reason why I want to start out by saying this program, there was so much good content we couldn't fit it in a half-hour time on television. So therefore, we have the entire program on our YouTube channel. Now, if you go to YouTube and check out the deer farming channel, we have hundreds of videos there. It's all about deer farming, and you'll be able to watch this episode in its entirety there. Now, the topic of this episode is about deer hunting right here in Pennsylvania. Deer hunting is big business and has been for many, many generations, but things are changing. And the reason why things are changing is because society is changing and also because of government regulation in regards to chronic wasting disease. On today's program, we're going to visit with several different people and give you their first-hand experience of dealing with chronic wasting disease right here in Pennsylvania. And we're going to talk about the possibilities of how we can move forward in the future. So sit back and enjoy this show, and if you want to watch it in its entirety, head on over to YouTube to the Deer Farming channel. Chronic wasting disease was discovered back in the 60s, okay? So it's been around for a long, long time. And it was discovered in a high fence situation in Colorado. Now it's in 30-something states, and I don't know how many Canadian provinces, but CWD is really everywhere. Every state gets funding in order to kind of manage CWD the way that they feel needs to be managed. But since the 1960s, CWD has never been successfully managed out of existence anyplace.
They've been studying CWD for 20 to 30 years and spending hundreds of millions of dollars in testing. What is your next plan? They don't have one. What is your solution after that? You just keep dumping money into a problem or what they feel is a problem, and they have no solution for it. And if you look at it, for people to say that it's a deer farmer's problem, there are multiple states in the United States where there are no deer farms. They're finding in Norway, they're finding in, I think, in South Korea. Different countries, they have found transmissible spongiform encephalopathy, and there's no deer farms. So to say that it is a direct cause of deer farming is an absolute fabricated lie. You could get rid of every deer farm, every shooting preserve, and you will not get rid of CWD.
Every state is regulated differently. Pennsylvania is under these unbelievable regulations. I mean, when we were talking earlier, it's like, you just can't believe what has happened in Pennsylvania, because when the government is so intrusive in your life and they steal your private property rights, they take away your freedom, they take away the value of your land, what you work for, your business, but every single state handles CWD differently. I mean, Oklahoma, for example, they don't even test in Oklahoma, but right across the Red River, they test 100% of animals in a deer breeding facility. First off, on CWD, they say, well, the person could get it, okay? Nobody's ever gotten it, never.
I think California Davis just came out with a report that there's such a genetic barrier between CWD and humans that it's next to impossible. And with its close pathology to scabies, nobody has gone in scabies from sheep, and they have had that documented since 1732. It's nothing like mad cow disease.
And so what happens, I want to talk to you, he mentions EHD or blue tongue, okay? That is a real thing that I think hunters need to be concerned with.
Disease.
EHD winds up as a disease. It's a hemorrhagic disease. They basically they bleed. Okay, they bleed internally. They bleed, and so it's the EHD is a quick killer. If CWD was such a bad disease on deer, if it was going to decimate the herd, which they want you to believe, it's always fatal to the deer. They make sure that you're told that. Is it really always fatal? I mean, because how long are they going to live? How many offspring are they going to have? If it's always fatal, then how come these areas in Wyoming that have 40% prevalency rate, 50% prevalency rate, and there's areas like that, how come they're still having hunting season?
No, even in the state of Wisconsin, they killed what, 172 or 173,000 deer. The population has increased by 73% since 2008. So, and there's still CWD at the same prevalence, if not higher, in the area. So how is it detrimental really to the deer herd?
Okay, it's environmental. It's there. Once it's there, it's there. And that's the reason why it's like, why are we continuing to spend all this money, have all this regulation on something that we can't stop? It can't be stopped. And if you think it can be stopped, tell us what the end game is. Is the end game ending all deer farming? Seriously, if that's the end game, be honest about it. At least say that.
And it still won't stop it.
It's not going to stop it. It will never go away. Is COVID gone? Think about that. Okay, I mean, people aren't scared about COVID anymore. Why? Because they realize that, guess what? It's there. It's going to be there. There's still people getting sick. There's still people that are dying, unfortunately, because of COVID. But guess what? The money's not there. It's not financially, they're not incentivized now to talk about COVID. And so when the financial incentive is taken away for chronic wasting disease, I believe that it's just going to all go away.
When the money goes away, the disease will go away.
Yeah, because there are people that are literally benefiting off of this. They're benefiting off, they're coming after the private landowners. So when we get back, we're going to check with the red deer farmer. And red deer are cervids too, and they're affected here in Pennsylvania the same way whitetail breeders are. And we're going to check with him, and you're going to hear his story. Deer and Wildlife Stories is brought to you by the North American Deer Farmers Association, the North American Deer Registry, Dr. Ray Favero's Whitetail Genetics, and by New Dart. For more videos on deer farming, subscribe to the Deer Farming channel on YouTube and now TikTok. All right, so Jared is a red deer farmer up here in Pennsylvania. And tell everybody how long you've been growing red deer.
We started back in 1998.
Okay, so during that time, since 1998 to today, talk about the regulation.
They have a lot of rules and regulations on us that have really made it hard just to raise deer. We have to test 50% when we're in the monitor herd, and that's all fine. But we've been quarantined for the past almost 4 years, and we've had to test 100%. Of the deer that die or get killed on the farm, and that ends up being over 100 and some deer a year that we have to have tested.
Okay, so why do you have to test?
About 5 years ago, I sold deer to a hunting ranch. After about a year and 2 months, they killed it, and it ended up having chronic wasting disease. And at the time, I was told from the Department of Agriculture that that's only like the 4th red deer in the whole country that they have confirmation that's have had it.
Mm-hmm.
But so I sold deer to that guy, and after a year and 2 months, it had CWD. Well, the Department of Agriculture said it could have come from my farm. Even though I raise over 500 deer, I've never had a case of CWD. It's not, relatively close to the farm. So, as far as I'm concerned, there was very little risk that I got it, because the only places I buy deer from are from certified herds that raise over 1,000 deer and have never had it either. So because of that one deer having it, they quarantined me for 4 years. And not only did they shut me down, but they probably shut down 8 or 10 different preserves in the state all over Pennsylvania. They got shut down as well because of that one deer.
Tell everybody how that has affected your business.
Well, at one time I was selling to 10 or 12 different places in the state of Pennsylvania, and they made it so I could only sell to 3. Now, they said when it first started, and I said, this is a major problem for me. They said, well, you can do the indemnity program, which the indemnity program is they pay you pennies on the dollar to come in and kill your whole entire herd. And they would have tested all of them, not found one with CWD, and then I would have been able to start over, but I would have gone from 500 deer to starting this whole thing over with the pennies on the dollar that they paid me to kill my whole entire herd, based on no kind of solid facts. Just a guesstimate that it could have come from there.
Okay, so it could have come from your farm. It could have, but it could have come from buzzards flying over there and pooping in the property. It could have come from scavengers, coyotes, predators. We know that CWD can be moved from place to place all different ways.
For the longest time, I didn't even worry about CWD because it was mostly in the whitetail population. So I would sell deer to just anybody that wanted to raise some, if they had the fence and everything. But I don't want to do that now because it's too much risk. When it leaves my farm, I'm responsible for that deer for 5 years after that. And if it gets gets CWD, I'm shut down in quarantine like I was before, and I can't afford to go through that again. I have a hard time encouraging anybody to get into this, not because I don't enjoy my life, not because I don't think it's profitable, just because they have so many rules and regulations that you can't do business.
What all this CWD scare is doing is, I think, not just running us out of business, but it's running hunting out of business. It's scaring hunters. When these wildlife and ag department people start scaring hunters to the point that we get calls from people say, my husband's a hunter and we got a freezer full of this meat and I don't want my children eating this diseased meat, so I'm going to throw it away. It's like, what? What?
Yeah.
I mean, they're scaring these people. People believe what the government's telling them. The truth of the matter is, nobody's ever gotten CWD, okay, ever. Okay, but they feed this misinformation or half information, half truths out to people. It's a propaganda smear campaign against hunting. And so I'm thinking we all need to work together to try to figure out a solution. And the solution, in my opinion, is not going just depopulate herds, just indiscriminately. You're out of business, you're out of business, you're out of business, because it ain't gonna fix anything. If you're with a wildlife or ag department, you're watching this and you want to take us on and you've got some, you want to, say what we're saying is wrong, we'd love to hear from you too. We really appreciate you watching. But the thing about it is, think about this, we're all in this together. We need to work together. This is our lives, okay? We're passionate about what we do, our families, it's our legacy that we want to leave for people. We want to encourage people to protect the future of hunting for generations that are not even born yet. And how can we do that when we don't work together? Deer and Wildlife Stories is brought to you by RS Deer Ranch, Record Rag Deer and Elk Feeds, Rut Manufacturing, and by the Servid Livestock Foundation. Deer and Wildlife Stories will be right back. Closed captioning provided by Advanced Deer Genetics. All right, so this is Stacey Fry. Stacey owns a hunting preserve just outside of Muncie, Pennsylvania. And CWD has had a major impact on his farm and him personally. And I want him to share with you really what's going on and how it's impacted him.
It's affected me because I got to watch where I buy deer from every day, who I'm buying deer from, who they bought deer from, what zones they're buying deer from. It's an ongoing, consistent thing that I got to watch and think about who I'm buying, because I don't want to put bad deer in here that the state says are bad.
The thing about it is, when he talks about buying deer from, who you get deer from, that's really important because it's called a trace out. In other words, it's whoever you deal with, okay, who have they dealt with? And then who have they dealt with? And who have they dealt with? And pretty soon the spider web, as you say, it gets everybody. And so, the thing about it is, about chronic wasting disease, there's nothing that you did to get it. There's nothing you can do to get rid of it. And there's nothing that the state departments can do to get rid of it either. We know now that CWD can be transmitted so many different ways. How are you gonna stop birds flying? How are you gonna stop coyotes from dragging off a carcass? How are you gonna stop a combine from going and chopping up a deer that's got chronic wasting disease and then putting it in the feed and taking it someplace? You can't, is the answer. Not only has chronic wasting disease had a negative impact on hunting and the future of hunting, but it's also had a negative impact financially, hasn't it?
Yeah, I've had situations where we've come in and we've had to shoot deer all the way off and then find out, oh, that trace out isn't part of you weren't connected to it, or that deer was mislabeled or misplaced.
Oh, we made a mistake, I'm sorry. They come into your business and they affect your livelihood. We went to the Harrisburg show. Those of you that don't know what the Harrisburg show is, probably the biggest sportsman show in the United States, okay? It's huge, and there's hundreds of thousands of people come through there. So it gave us an opportunity to actually sit down and talk to some hunters from Pennsylvania and hear their thoughts on what chronic wasting disease is doing to hunting.
I, this past fall, was out in Nebraska on a whitetail hunt for opening week of rifle season, and out there was a bad drought throughout the summer, and guys are finding deer dead in creek bottoms all over their property, and the number one thing they think is chronic wasting disease. That's the automatic conversation, when in reality it's just EHD, which has been around and is just a normal thing that happens. But any dead deer that's found, it's always turned to chronic wasting disease.
Yeah, and the way everybody talks about CWD, it's having a negative effect on hunting. People are scared to eat the meat, and even if it's tested, if it's shot in an area that's a CWD zone, people are concerned. And so it's having a negative impact on hunting license sales and hunting in general.
What do you think the future holds if nothing is going to be done politically, legislatively to stop this nonsense with the over-regulatory rules that we have to follow? What do you think is going to happen?
I think hunting that you know it today and that my father and my grandfather taught me is going to be gone. The stuff that I've tried to teach my kids is going to be gone. The property's been in the family for 100 years, and what am I going to do with it when they come in here and shut me down and make me shoot everything, or they got to come in and shoot everything off, and I'm going to have a woods of nothing.
I'm not saying with chronic wasting disease we should just forget about it. I'm not at all. Okay, I think that it's important that we learn about it. We also encourage reasonable, sensible regulations. Okay, things that we can all live with. Okay, and we want to work with the wildlife people. We want to work with the ag people.
Absolutely.
But it's like they don't want to work with us. Deer and Wildlife Stories is brought to you by Record Rag Deer and Elk Feeds, New Dart, Prime Acres Outfitters, Rut Manufacturing, the new game management software, and by VAF Contracting and Fencing. Now it's time to hear from Ron with VAF Contracting and Fencing.
Hey guys, it's Ron. Today we're looking at a pretty different style of privacy fence. What we did is the customer had an 8-foot game fence, but they didn't want people to be able to see into the property and still keep it semi-rustic and outdoorsy. So what we did is we actually came in here and put 8-foot tall cedar posts. And it's a lot of cedar posts, let me tell you. But in order to help keep the fence upright, because with the amount of wind that this will catch during storms or just a really windy, crazy Texas day, we had to go in and really support the fence. We came in and put 4.5-inch verticals every 40 feet just to help keep the fence standing upright. So whatever unique, crazy idea you might come up with, we can help you out here, whether it's fence clearing, new fence construction, or any type of land improvement you could think of.
To contact VAF Contracting and Fencing, call 254-709-9418. So I'd like you to tell everybody how the CWD regulations have really affected y'all in high fence hunting preserves in Pennsylvania.
One of the biggest issues, it's a huge financial burden. It's constant, I like to use the word harassment, but you hate to use that, from your Department of Ag, the testing. It's just hours of work and with no real outcome. You know, there's no answers, there's no anything, and it's been, what, 15, 17 years now?
What happens if they do find a positive?
Well, if they find a positive, you're locked down for 5 years, which literally it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's just stale, it sits there. You're not allowed to kill the deer, you're not allowed to do anything. But you can depopulate and lose money.
Sure, you can depopulate and lose money, or you could feed the deer and lose money.
I mean, it's nothing, it's just a loss, a total loss for you, for the deer, for the hunter, for everybody.
So if we're going to require 100% testing in a preserve, wouldn't you expect to have 100% testing outside the preserve?
Yeah, not less than 1% is what they test.
If we've got to test 100% of animals here, okay, how many percentage do you think we need to test on the outside? Just to be fair.
100 to be fair.
100 to be fair.
Just outside the fences here, they killed 60 or 80 deer outside the fences 2 Januaries ago. Go drive down the roads here and try and see a deer. And they didn't find anything. They wanted to blame this place or our other hunting preserve is what they did. They killed the deer outside both of them.
And so who loses? You.
The hunters.
The hunter loses, okay? The local economy. And so literally with what these guys are saying and with the continuation of all this negative propaganda going out against us, what do you think the future looks like?
Well, I think the overall future of hunting is very bleak. If you look at license sales in Pennsylvania here, they're probably a third of what they were when I was a kid. I mean, the propaganda machine scares the hunter. Ooh, it's always fatal. You know, I've been in the wild and in the deer pens my whole life. I've never come across a mass death of deer. You know what I mean? We were locked down a few years ago until we got off because the deer didn't end up being related to what they thought. We never had a deer die from it. But you know what I mean? Who has more money invested than us, Keith? But anyways, there is no one on the planet would be more into it if they could show us one improvement. Not just in Pennsylvania, any state. One improvement in anywhere in the United States, what they've done with CWD. One.
We're waiting. Oh, we're asking for one.
Yeah, we're asking for it.
They've had over 50 years, 60 years to come up with
you know what? And millions of dollars. We don't have that. You know what I mean? We don't get a grant for $1 million to study our deer.
And so just tell us one success story. That's all. But there is a success story when it comes to genetically breeding.
And who found that out?
Right, the deer breeders.
The deer breeders.
Okay,
yeah.
Dr. Christopher Seabury is a godsend to the deer breeding industry, in my opinion. He has discovered a scientific method to be able to actually breed chronic wasting disease out of the deer herd. It's there. The science is there. 100% is there, and it is working. You can go to our videos on YouTube. Check out the Ox Ranch story, okay? That's a story that's been going for 5 years, and Dr. Christopher Seabury has put this program together, and they proved it. It's proven that it works. And why do you think the game departments would not want you to know that? What I'm trying to get through to you is that, you know what, we all should work together. If CWD is such a bad thing, okay, and it's going to kill the deer herd, don't you think it'd probably be a good idea to work with deer farmers that are creating a genetic strain of whitetail deer? They're big too, and they're healthy, and they're resistant to chronic wasting disease, and we could take those deer and let them go in the wild and let them propagate, and then that way, if CWD is going to be such a bad deal,
Oklahoma's doing it, right?
Oklahoma's doing it. That's the reason why we moved to Oklahoma. What do you think? All right, it's time for us to wrap this up. We appreciate you watching. If you got any questions or comments, we want to hear from you. If you want to see this video in its entirety, head on over to the YouTube and punch in Deer Farming Channel, and this will pop up along with the hundreds of other videos. We'd love you to watch them. But check it out. My name is Keith Warren. I'm with Rod Fry, and we will catch you next time. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're doing a heck of a job.